Morning, everyone, and welcome. Are there any crew here from USS Cincinnati this morning? Yay! Any plank owners? Yay! Any who are on board for the decommissioning? Yeah. Sorry about that. Well, welcome back and good morning to all of you. Thanks for coming to Cincinnati. Special thank you to all your families for allowing you to come. Try to stay out of trouble, but I think most of us might be a bit too old to get in too much trouble. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm Joseph Job. I'm president of the Submarine Cincinnati Memorial Association. We've been working on this for 26 years, and here it is. Many of you have been following the project and have traded email with my shipmate Dick Young over there at the flagpole, and Scott Lucas, 693 crewman. Where's Scott? There he is. We started the project back in June 2000, if you can believe that. Trip to Puget Sound Naval Shipyard near Seattle. We went there to take a look at Cincinnati. It was moored and nested with about 20 other boats. They were dingy, they were rusty. It was a sad sight. Our tour guide that day was retired Vice Admiral Roger Bacon, who had served as ComSub Lant. He was our tour guide, and the boat inside had been cannibalized. It was not a pretty sight, as Chris might know. But Admiral Bacon took on the project for us as our godfather. He was our boots on the ground in Puget Sound, and he made sure we got our 100 tons of Cincinnati here. So thanks to Admiral Bacon, unfortunately no longer with us. So where do you start with a project like this? We submitted an application to NAVC, asking them to donate the entire submarine as a museum vessel. Nobody ever asked for a submarine before, not a nuclear-powered submarine. So I had to go to the Navy Yard, and eventually they told us, no, you can't have a submarine. It's nuclear-powered, it's classified. So we'll give you some pieces, so we knew that. And it would have been difficult to get it here anyway. The navigation channel on the Ohio River is only 9 feet deep, so do the math. We'd have to load it on a barge to get it here, so that didn't work. But we did get these 100 tons, as you can see here. And we wanted to tell our local people how big a submarine really is, what life aboard is like. So you'll see our signage there. Please don't nitpick it too much. We're not trying to qualify our visitors. We're just trying to tell them a little bit about life on a submarine. They are amazed enough with what they see. So we know there's some inaccuracies. We couldn't put the diesel engine where it should be in a hole 26 feet in the ground. So, forgive us for some poetic license here. We brought these pieces here, 5 tractor trailer loads. One of our local sub-vets owned a trucking company, brought them here from Seattle. We put them on display down at the Reds ballpark, 2013. What was that, 12 years ago, 13 years ago? Had a big ceremony, and then they went in storage. We tried to find a place on the riverfront. That didn't work out. You got the Reds, you got the Bengals, city, county. It was just too much. We found this wonderful location here at the Voice of America. You might not know it, but Voice of America started in World War II, continued right on broadcasting through the Cold War. So we've got 2 Cold Warriors here. Voice of America over there, USS Cincinnati here. One serving over the airwaves, the other serving under the sea waves. And look, we got rain. A few weeks ago, Captain Kirk Juroff was in town. He got his picture taken with us. You might have seen it on Facebook. He couldn't be here today. But we do have Cincinnati's final engineer, an XO, Chris Ratliff, right over here. And we have our final decommissioning CO, Chris Stathos. We're pleased these guys could be here today to join us. As you know, Cincinnati's life was cut short about halfway through its design life, victim of the peace dividend, as some of you heard last night. But today we're putting USS Cincinnati back into service on a new mission to give taxpayers their money worth. So let's get this evolution underway. It's my pleasure to introduce, some of you know him, USS Cincinnati's final skipper, Chris Stathos.
Well, good morning, crew and families. It's really great to see you all here, and I'm so glad you've made the effort to join us here today. Your presence here is what's going to make this day special. This great event that's brought us all together here today has been in the making, as Joe said, for over 30 years. I first heard about this concept from Jack Schiff Sr. Back in November of 1994, when the Navy League, Cincinnati Navy League, brought 30 members of the crew and their wives to Cincinnati for a weekend to go to a Cincinnati Bengals game. Unfortunately, I don't remember who the Bengals played that day, or if they won or lost. Who? Steelers, okay. Did we win?
No.
Okay, we didn't win either. All I do remember is that it was raining like crazy here, and the re-enlistment ceremony that was supposed to happen at halftime on the 50-yard line was moved to a skybox, and that's what we did instead. You know, during that weekend, over dinner, Jack had talked to me about his vision of bringing the ship, the whole ship, minus the reactor compartment, up here to Cincinnati, as Joe's already mentioned. You know, I tried to manage Jack's expectations, but at the time I was just a young commander, only been in command about 3 weeks, and he was throwing around 3- and 4-star admiral names, so I didn't have much luck managing his expectations. But the memorial we have here today is perfect. It includes the two most visible parts of a submarine, the sail and the upper rudder. That's what most people always see anyhow, if they ever see a submarine, how many people have seen a submarine in the water, really? I mean, not too many of us, not too many other than all of us. Okay, I was asked to share some thoughts about my time on Cincinnati. But, you know, I have to confess, I was only on Cincinnati for 9 months. I'm probably the shortest short-timer here of anybody, right? Okay. I assumed command in the end of October 1994. We conducted a few weeks of weekly operations out in the vacates there, playing target. Sometimes we call ourselves the Rabbit. We are out there providing a target for other ships who are working up for deployment, opportunity for them to track us and follow us. We held an inactivation ceremony at Naval Station Norfolk on the 8th of December 1994. And the first week of January 1995, we headed to the shipyard, dead stick, being towed, sort of embarrassing, to start the decommissioning and defueling process. I gotta be totally honest with you. It was probably the most depressing part of my naval career. Taking a ship that was this young and in such great shape and taking her in and basically taking her apart. You know, it's defueling and disassembly of a submarine in the prime of its life is a very bittersweet task. The previous officers and crew, all of you out here, did an excellent job of taking care of Cincinnati, and she was in outstanding material condition. But in true Cincinnati fashion, the crew professionally accomplished the defueling and decommissioning process, completing it in 7 months, 5 months ahead of the CNO schedule. I think that set a record, really. One of my saddest days in dry dock was when I was walking through the main seawater bay one day, and I looked outboard and saw a shipyard worker with a big drill getting ready to drill holes in the bottom of the main seawater piping. My first impulse was to jump out there and stop him. For years, that piping had been the boundary between life and death for the ship and for the crew. But, you know, it was inevitable. During a small dry dock ceremony at the end of July 1995, I signed custody of the ship over to the shipyard commander, and that was the last time I saw the ship until I came here in April, just a few weeks ago, to work with Joe and give him some of the memorabilia that I brought with me, and saw the rudder and this whole thing here, and I was truly, truly impressed. This is the best memorial I've ever seen on a submarine, and I've gone to many of them, and I really feel really proud to have been part of decomming Cincinnati, knowing that she's been reused here, recycled, and is soon going to be recommissioned back into service in the service of our communities here, and hopefully contribute to the education of future submarine sailors and other, people that are going to serve the country through various means. And again, thanks again. I think I better stop before we get rained on really bad. And thanks again for coming.
Good, thanks. Okay, flight detail ready? Attention to colors. Thanks again to all of you. The recommissioning ceremony begins at 9:30. Until then, explore the memorial again.
Presentation of the colors. So focus camera, color guard. I'm gonna just put that there instead of holding it. All right, coming to PTZ if you want to go back. And PTZ. There a second. We're gonna need some lens lighting in a minute. I'll radio you when I'm off of him. Okay, I'm gonna go to PTZ. PTZ. Okay, I'm on PTZ. We can do some lens wipe, and I'm sending you out help if you need it. PTZ, just hang out where you are. You know, it's gonna be a weird shot, but that's what we got. Jake, as soon as I can get you tight on the podium. Oh, they're just all kind of cowering in the front. Okay, Jake, come back to you. Well, no, hang on. Wait until someone comes up to talk. We're gonna just... Okay, Jake, coming to you. You can really slowly widen out just a little bit because you are live. Unless you're locked down, in which case, don't worry about it. Yeah, that's what I want. See the town. I'm gonna come to PTZ. PTZ. You can really slowly go down. Jake, I'm gonna have you just go back and be ready at the podium. I need you to go to after this. Tighter on it. I don't need to see overplay. The choir's going back to the national anthem. So Jake, can you be ready on the choir again? Sorry, I lied. I thought there was going to be a presentation. And then we're just bringing it down there. Okay, coming to you, Jake. In 3, 2, Jake. ETZ. Just... the 3 ladies in the front row. Yeah, let's get them. A little tighter. Just do yeah, 4 there. Fell off. Just get right. Yeah. And cut the PTZ. PTZ. Yeah. That's what yeah, Jake, just put that away. It's annoying. Yeah, can you try pulling it out and tilting down a little? I don't care if you get the bottom of the stage. Yeah, I'd just rather not have that big white stripe. Yeah, okay. Coming to you, Jake. PTZ if you want to do other... Well, we're almost done here. Yeah, PTZ. Yep, I like it. Jake, we will be going to the podium next. Stand PTZ here. PTZ, I'm just going to have you ride with me here for a bit. Okay. Jake, coming to you.
Thank you all for being here
We're on
today.
Jake. Can you get
Let's bow our
anything
heads
else?
for prayer. Heavenly Father, God of the universe, we come to you in prayer and thankfulness. We pray for those who sail their boats beneath the seas. Keep them safe. Grant them united spirits as they protect the freedoms which we enjoy. Keep them from harm and guide them home safely. Submarines are stalwarts of the sea, and we are here today to honor one of those stalwarts and the crew that sailed her, the USS Cincinnati. Father above, we will recommission this representative of peace through strength and open her to the public so they can understand the miracle of the submarine, its contribution to peace and the end of the Cold War. Lord, we give our deep and profound thanks to all those who have made this possible. Thank you for touching their hearts, for their dedication, and for their generosity. You have blessed us with a wonderful occasion that will be a place of celebration, thankfulness, and learning. Now, Father, we especially thank you for the crew who served aboard the USS Cincinnati and who have traveled from all parts of our country to be here today. They served with honor and distinction. Some of the crew are not able to be with us today, as they are with you, God, on eternal patrol. Let us honor them now. ET2, Gary Black, Chris Bowling, STS1 Neil Brittner, Tim Dilworth, RM1 Charles Griffin, RM1 Richard Griffith, ICC William Pickerson, MM1 Robert Phillips, A Division James Honan, FTC Robert Cumney, FTG2 Darren Lane, IT2 James Lester, HMC Skip Lewis, MM John Magruder, Executive Officer Bruce McCloskey, STS2 Hank Milner, N. Mosteller, ETCM Thomas Nutter, IC2 Sean O'Neill, MM1 Paulie Parrish, QM1 Chris Powell, Lieutenant John Seal, FT2 Jeff Sharp, EM Gary Smith, MM Warren Stolford, FTC Barry Swalford, STS1 Randy Swanson, John Timoney, RM1 Rusty Tobias, ET1 Jack Vernon, QMC John Ross, Commanding Officer Gilbert Wilkes III, RM1 Al Wolf, ETR3 Gary Zakarian. Let us remember these shipmates with a moment of silence.
I'm going to come to PTZ.
Heavenly Father, thank you for blessing us with their service. In his holy name we pray and give thanks for all these things. Amen.
Come to you. Okay, for the transition, PTZ, if you can give me anything, I'd appreciate it if you can. Just hang here for a minute. PTZ, Jake, what do you got for me? You can give me a full shot. If you got a good close-up that you want to try, go for it. Can you tilt up a little? Okay. A little tighter on her. She's the most expressive by far. Can you go back to podium? Someone should be coming up from the neighborhood to welcome. I'm just watching that.
Good morning, everyone. Could we please have another round of applause for the choir? My name is Glenn Welling. I'm the president of the Greater Cincinnati Navy League Council. And on behalf of the entire Navy League, welcome to this incredible ceremony here today. We're so excited to have you here. If you were here and heard Captain Stamos' remarks during the flag raising, the crew of the USS Cincinnati back in 1994 was invited into town, and as part of that, participated in a Bengals game where they were going to do a re-enlistment on the field. But wouldn't you know, it was pouring down rain, so they had to conduct a ceremony up in one of the suites. And then back in the summer of 2024, when we did the groundbreaking right here on this site, it was drizzling as well. So I woke up this morning thinking, well, God is absolutely sure that submarines and their crew are intended to be submerged. So I consider this a blessing to have this current weather that we're having right now. The importance of this Peace Pavilion extends beyond the submarine and itself and the recognition of those crew members who are with us here today. Some of you may be aware that Cincinnati is unique. It's one of only a handful of cities that has 5 Navy combat vessels named after the town. Okay, beginning in the Civil War, and the USS Cincinnati is number 4 of that, SSN 693. Currently serving on active duty, littoral combat ship LCS-20, stationed out in San Diego. She's the 5th, and her crew just returned from an 8-month deployment out in the South China Sea. So I want to thank, again, those opening participants here, the opening ceremony participants, the Color Guard, the choir, the Cincinnati Young Professionals Choral Collective, and retired Navy Captain Chief Ray Paul, who gave us our invitation. So welcome, people, to the grand opening of the USS Cincinnati Peace Pavilion. This has been years in planning, literally over a quarter of a century. This effort began back in the year 2000. And if it weren't for the dedication and perseverance of so many of you present here today, this would not be witnessed. So one of the persons who was frankly most responsible for that is my Navy League colleague, Joe Japp. And I'd like to introduce Joe. Joe is the president of the Cincinnati Submarine Memorial Association. So I'd ask Joe to please come up and get on stage.
ATZ. Thanks,
Glenn. So again, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, crew members, submariners, guests. Thank you for celebrating with us this morning. You made the call on Wednesday to put up the tents. You're welcome. And as one mentioned about the other ships, today is a special Navy day for Ohio, as the Navy will be commissioning surface combatant USS Cleveland up at that north end of the state. So this is the first time a Navy vessel has been commissioned in the state of Ohio, the USS Cleveland. So today is doubly historic as we recommission our USS Cincinnati into its new role, honoring service and innovation. Glenn mentioned this journey began quite a while ago. The vision of the Cincinnati Navy League, and it would not have been possible without the continued effort of our Navy League members, and especially the generous benefactors who've made this project possible. We deeply appreciate your trust and support over these many years. We've also benefited from the help of our local submarine veterans, including my shipmate, Dick Young, served in a color guard in uniform here at the end of the day. He's been with me since the beginning, organizing the subvets, Lightning, we're under medal. He's been organizing and attending events all over town, generating community enthusiasm for the project. As I said, he's even in uniform once again today, serving in our color guard. And submariners Viney and Jerry Johnson, they're here. They've also been retraining our 20 submarine tour guides. You can't miss them, they're all in red. They've been spending months reeling
unlearning what they might have forgotten about subs over the past 30, 40, or some of them 50 years. So they're now ready to answer all your questions, not the sub guys. They can't answer it, they'll at least sound convincing. Actually, no. We're going to find the answer for your question. And submariners here are familiar with that process. They're called lookups. An important part of submarine qualification. So thanks to all of them for helping bring this memorial to life today. As you know, one of the primary memorial missions we have here is education of our youngsters, and the submarine is filled with a huge amount of sophisticated technology. And for our nation to remain competitive in a global economy, we must engage young people at an early age and inspire them toward careers in science and technology and the engineering and skilled trades required to build something as complex as a submarine. And so that's why we included the Education Center building over there. It's going to be our classroom for field trips and young visitors. But of course, none of this would have been possible without the great community enthusiasm we found here at Voice of America Park. About 4 years ago, we connected with Westchester, got to work on the design with our architects at McGill Smith Puncheon. That's Jose and Brian and Meg up here. Our builder time construction group, Justin, Nick, and especially Sean Hubert, our superintendent, who saw through every detail of this massive complex. And a project of this scope requires a lot of funding. We're fortunate to have Northern Cincinnati as our fundraising partner. Many of you know it's President Aaron Satsker. We're still raising funds for our endowment, and if she hasn't spoken to you already, she will. There. Over here.
Over here. Right here.
There. Over there. Find Aaron. There's also a QR program on the programs to make it especially easy. But we're especially grateful for the support of our Metro Parks of Butler County, its board, its executive director, Jackie O'Connell. Is Jackie here today? Back there. And we've got tremendous support from Westchester Township, its board, and its township administrator, Lisa Brown, heading off to China later today. Lisa stepped into her role last year as administrator and has helped coordinate all these many issues of projects like the spaces. Lisa and Brian Wooten have helped us get to this point today. And somehow, in her spare time, Lisa just received her law degree from the University of Dayton. So congratulations, Lisa. USS Cincinnati stands as a tribute to the commitment our nation made during 5 decades of Cold War, honoring not only our submariners, but all our veterans, 3 generations of those. All the civilians who work for the local companies supplying our defense, and an entire community that has come together to preserve this legacy for future generations. Thanks everyone who brought us here today. So it's now my pleasure to invite Westchester Township Administrator
I'll let you know
Lisa
as soon as I'm
Brown
clearing you,
to
Jake.
say a few words.
I got it.
Lisa.
Okay, come on, PCC.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this slightly
Pretty much the same height
soggy
in front of me, Jake.
day.
From you, Jake, to
On
the
behalf of
top.
Westchester Township, our Board of Trustees, and our community, it's really an honor to welcome you to the USS Cincinnati Police Pavilion. The Pavilion is a place of remembrance, education, discovery, and community pride. It honors those who served aboard the USS Cincinnati, the veterans who have carried the project forward, and the families who understand the sacrifice that comes with military service. Westchester is proud to help to provide a home for this important piece of history here at the Voice of America Metro Park. This site is especially fitting. VOA Museum has its own deep connection to service, communication, and the defense of freedom. And now it becomes home to a project that helps tell another important American story. This project has taken years of vision, persistence, and partnership, and we're grateful to Metro Parks of Butler County, the Northern Cincinnati Foundation, the Navy League, the Submarine Cincinnati Memorial Association, the many donors, volunteers, veterans, former crew members, architects, builders, and supporters who made this day possible. A project of this scale does not happen because of just one person or just one organization. It happens because people believe in the mission and refuse to let it fade. For Westchester, this pavilion engineering, technology, teamwork, and service. The scale of a submarine structure is humbling. When you stand beneath this monument, history is not something distant. This replica and these exhibits connect you to the past in a visceral and immersive way. To the USS Cincinnati crew members and all veterans with us today, thank you for your service. Your service gives meaning to this memorial. Your stories will help bring it to life for generations to come. Westchester is honored to be part of this project, and we are proud to welcome the USS Cincinnati Peace Pavilion to its new home. Thank you all again for being here with us today.
Well, thank you, Lisa. And thanks to all the folks from Butler County and Westchester Township that are here today, and for all of your efforts to get us to this point, but even more so, all of the great work we're going to do, as Lisa talked about, moving forward. It is now my honor to introduce our first speaker, former Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, Jim Firk. Many of you probably know that the MCMON is the highest ranking senior non-commissioned officer in the United States Navy, reporting directly to the Chief of Naval Operations. Jim is a native of Casper, Wyoming, who enlisted in the United States Navy in 1966. A decorated Navy veteran, Jim had the privilege of serving on the USS Cincinnati. Please join me in welcoming the conference to the podium.
Thank you, Susie.
Well, good morning, everyone. What an honor to be here. Yesterday I was talking with Joe when I first got here, and I said, Joe, it looks like there might be a little bit of rain tomorrow. And he said,
Well, I think we're
it's
just
gonna
wide
be
enough.
some passing showers,
Don't
on
worry.
and off. So,
Also to be
we are a partying bunch for sure. My job here today is to pay homage to principally the crew, and I'm going to take the liberty of speaking for those of us that had served on Cincinnati before, and expressing homage to a couple of other groups very quickly. The first is the foundation that raised the funds for this magnificent memorial. This memorial is truly unique. I've seen a number of them where you might see the sail, you might see the rudder, but I've never seen one that truly expresses the size and scope of a Los Angeles class fast attack submarine. This is truly magnificent and unique. So, to those in the foundation and those who constructed this magnificent memorial, we owe you a great deal of gratitude. It was a 20-year evolution to get to the point that we are today, and it is truly spectacular. And we owe you a great deal of gratitude, as I think. The second group I'd like to just pay a little bit of tribute to is the greater Cincinnati area. So for those who live here, thank you for allowing us to share your name for the life of this submarine. We wore your name proudly. Wow. He says so too.
nice.
Wherever we went, we had red ball, those red ball, Cincinnati red ball caps. Many of you may not know this, but we had to get special dispensation from the Chief of Naval Operations to allow a slight deviation from Navy uniform red to allow us to wear those red ball caps. So we were truly distinct when we were on the pier, when we were in port. Everybody knew that we represented USS Cincinnati, and by extension, the greater Cincinnati area. We were very proud to have worn your name during our service. But now to the crew. Before I get started, would all former commanding officers please stand so that we can recognize you?
Zoom out, see if we can get people.
All former executive officers, please stand. All former crew members, or all former chiefs of the boat, because we have any that are here. former crew members, please stand. You know, it's been said the ships are merely skeletons of steel. And I believe that to be true. And they only come to life once the crew forms out the flesh of the skeleton. And I believe that to be true. I think that is true of every Navy ship. It is particularly true of the submarine service. That it is no more vividly true than those of us that have served aboard USS Cincinnati. We were truly unique. Extraordinary, I would say. You see, in the submarine service, when you get on board the ship and you shut the hatch for the last time, and you go out to the dive point and commence the dive, you enter an environment whose only job, every second of every day, is to find a way to kill you. That is the sea's job. No one is meant to go beneath the sea the way submariners do. And every submariner puts their lives in the hands of every other submarine member of the crew. Quite literally. Because if you don't come back, nobody comes back. Life depends on everybody else. Last night I had the honor and privilege of going to a little get-together of many of the crew members that I served with during my time from 81 to 83 on board Cincinnati. And the repeated phrase that I heard over and over again was I went to other places, both in civilian life and to other ships, and were part of other crews, much as I did. I went to other crews also. But it was never the same as it was on Cincinnati. It was truly a unique experience and a unique crew. So all of us crew members, former crew members of Cincinnati, owe you folks that put this magnificent piece of work together, we owe you a great deal of thanks for memorializing our ship, for memorializing who we were and what we did. And like the skeleton of steel that I mentioned before, this quite literally is a skeleton of steel. It will come to life when those young men and women, those young kids that come aboard here to find out what it's like to be a submariner and to learn a little bit more about what it's like to be in the Navy. On behalf of those who served, we thank you. Thank you for honoring our service. Thank you for building this place, and others will come to learn all about us in the future. God bless.
All right.
Thank you, Nick Conhart. It's wonderful to hear those recollections and the significance of the experience that all the crew members had aboard USS Cincinnati. I would now like to invite retired Rear Admiral Thomas Wall to the stage. He served as mission officer on board USS Cincinnati, completing both North Atlantic and Mediterranean deployments. His submarine experience is extensive, and I'm grateful he's able to join us here at this morning's historic event. Please join me in welcoming Rear Admiral Wall. I never could control this bunch. Hey, just to bring back a memory, I'd like to say, Chief of the Watch Bridge, send a foul weather suit to the bridge. So I also go by Lieutenant, as many of you know. And it brings back great memories. First, I'd like to say it's my sincere honor to be part of this event, which celebrates a great submarine, great crew members, and a great team that created this most impressive memorial. I'd like to recognize fellow Rear Admiral Sam Cox and all the prior COs of the USS Cincinnati silhouette with her sail, rudder, and big red diesel. It brings back fond memories, but especially of those that we served with. Because it is and always will be about the people. The day I checked in on the Cincinnati was the fall of 1991. I went directly to the XO's stateroom, which is right about there. And he sat me down, handed me a ball cap, and said, "Go with YN1 quickly, get checked in, and then go home and pack, because we're going north in less than 48 hours." I went home and I told my wife the same thing, and she said, "Wow, that's fantastic," or words to that effect. Well, that was a rough start, and I'm sure everyone that was on board or has been on a submarine can appreciate that. What I remember most is the following 3 years, and how much I learned and how much I benefited from the relationship with those who were crew members. What I'd like to talk to you about today is our submarine industrial base and the importance that it plays in our future. During World War II, submarines were a decisive, high-stakes weapon, sinking over 30% of the Imperial Japanese Navy and 60% of their merchant fleet. A highly leveraged lethality. By the end of World War II, over a 5-year period, our shipyards had not only repaired and refitted our fleet, but they also forged an entirely new navy, building more than 140 aircraft carriers, 8 battleships, 807 cruisers and destroyers, and over 200 submarines. When Cincinnati was commissioned back in 1978, our shipyards were producing about 5 submarines a year. The Navy was maintaining what it considered a high consistent output to combat the Soviet threat during the Cold War. After the end of the Cold War, priorities changed, and Cincinnati would be shifted from a scheduled midlife refueling overhaul to an early decommissioning in 1995. There were other submarines that were not utilized throughout their effective full life. As these peace dividends were taken, we effectively downsized not only the submarine force, but also our industrial base. That was 30 years ago, and things have changed. China is a threat to the U.S. Its rapid military expansion, intellectual property theft, economic espionage, and cyber intrusions aimed at our critical infrastructure. Russia is a renewed threat to the United States. With its large nuclear stockpile, advanced cyber capabilities, and assertive hybrid warfare tactics that are aimed at destabilizing Western institutions. The Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Daryl Caudle, has stated that the undersea domain is central to deterrence, competition, and conflict, and that the U.S. Navy's future depends on expanding its undersea advantage through a reliable and accelerated shipbuilding strategy. If I can share a sea story with you, I was a brand new one-star, had been the deputy commander of the submarine force for about 2 months, so extremely overconfident. And Admiral Daryl Caudle came in to relieve as the submarine commander. He spent the morning taking briefs from the staff, and during lunch we gave him time to catch up on the computer and checking email. So as his deputy, I walked in and sat at his table, and I said, "Sir, how's everything going this morning?" He said, "It's good, but it's busy." And he went right back to work. So I said, "Sir, you know, we went to the same college." And he stopped what he was doing and he looked up and he smiled and he said, "You're a graduate of NC State? That's cool." And then he went right back to work. After a few seconds, without even looking at me, he said, "Hey Tom, do you got anything else?" I said, "No sir, I'm just going to see myself out of your office now."
So there's two things I want you to take away from that. First, never try to schmooze your boss, because they're smarter than you. But second, I will tell you that Admiral Caudle is 100% business. And he is all about aggressively moving the ball down the field. And if there's anyone I want to see running our Navy, it's Admiral Darrell Caudle. His fighting instructions to the entire Navy designate his priorities as foundry, fleet, and fight. He has stated many times that every investment we make, every policy we produce, and every strategy that we employ begins in the foundry. The foundry is the bedrock of our Navy and is comprised of three enduring pillars. First, people. Our total workforce of sailors, civilians, the artisans, and engineers. Second, material steel, munitions, raw earth materials, semiconductors, warheads, and heavy lift machinery. And third, infrastructure. Our American-made facilities, installations, dry docks, and piers. The new Columbia class SSBN will be replacing the Ohio class. Many of these older submarines have been extended beyond their normal life cycle to cover the upcoming transition period. The Virginia class SSN continues to replace the aging Los Angeles class, and the agreement between Australia, United Kingdom, and the United States, known as AUKUS, will require increased production and a strong industrial base. As you can see with the high demand for submarines, the Navy's foundry is a top priority, and the significant funding, backed by the executive branch and direct foreign investment, there should be no doubt that the Navy is driving a renaissance of shipbuilding. The U.S. submarine industrial base requires over 140,000 new skilled workers over the next decade to meet the Navy's procurement demands. Key roles include welders, machinists, engineers, and quality assurance specialists. Major recruiting efforts are underway to address this urgent national security need. I encourage you to visit the website buildsubmarines.com for more information on how this is connecting potential employees with thousands of jobs across all 50 states. Again, that website is buildsubmarines.com. Those of you that are part of the Naval Submarine League probably already know that they provide what is called a Workforce Star Award. This highlights individuals in the industry and makes more visible their contributions. I encourage each one of you to share your stories and experiences with the next generation, to provide them with helpful information and encouragement to make a good decision about potentially joining one of our submarine-related programs. This U.S. Cincinnati Memorial, the tours, information, and education that it provides, all easily accessible to the public, will pay future dividends to support our submarine force and those making decisions on a STEM-related education or career. What a great submarine memorial for the crew members, the local communities, and all those that visit. In closing, to all those that supported USS Cincinnati over the years, a hearty Bravo Zulu and job well done. Thank you. Thank you for your service to the U.S. Navy, the submarine force, and this great nation. And my personal thank you goes out to all your families for both the support and sacrifices made during your service. Thank you very much. Thank you, Admiral Wall, and I particularly appreciate that last comment about the importance of family. I know myself as
I did many, many years without the support of my wife and children. So thank you very much. I would now like to ask the former and soon-to-be new crew member of the USS Cincinnati, Scott Lucas, to come up for some recognition.
Okay. I'm on TTZ. Don't like
My name is Scott Lucas, and I've emailed a lot of you, and I just wanted to say thanks to all the crew and all the families for coming to this wonderful event. We appreciate you guys coming from all across the country. So, I'm up here to recognize, can I get Joe and Bob to stand up, please?
TTZ, can you get him? TTZ.
On behalf of the crew and all of us, we want to give you a big round of applause and the Navy League. Thanks for everything you guys done for us, so we can get back to life. So now can I get Dick Young to stand up? Dick and the submarine veterans, on behalf of the crew, we want to thank you for all the work that you've done, talking to all of us and getting it up and going. Thank you, Dick. And I want to say thanks to all of my former crew members that came. Thank you. Let's give them a big round of applause. And this is my new crew. I'm one of the only ones that here who's going to have a new crew on the Cincinnati since I'm going to be a tour guide. Let's give them guys a big round of applause too. Alright, thanks for coming and sorry for the rain. I had a flash message. You can see that it was the shipmates that's gone on. That was them talking to us saying thanks. Alright, thank you.
All right, we are ready. Now we're going to move into the recommissioning and wetting down of USS Cincinnati, SSS Cincinnati. Did I miss something? Oh, yeah. I already made that joke. No, I lost my place. It's fitting that to begin this process that I introduce the ship's final commanding officer, Lieutenant Captain Chris Staples. He commanded the USS Cincinnati from October 1994 until its decommissioning in July of 1995. Please join me in welcoming Captain Staples to the stage.
Well, what a great Navy day, huh? Reminds me of getting underway and standing that first bridge watch. Only thing is, as all of you mentioned, I usually had a foul weather jacket on and should stay dry. So good morning to all the crew members and their families of USS Cincinnati and to the distinguished supporters and guests of USS Cincinnati Memorial. It's been a great event to bring us here together today. You know, I first heard this concept from Jack Schiff Sr. back in November of 1994 when the Navy League sponsored some crew members and their wives out here for that Cincinnati Bengals game that was raining like crazy. Another great day. You know, and Jack had a vision and he planted that seed, and 30 years later, that vision has come to fruition. This memorial here today is perfect. It includes the two most visible parts of a submarine, the sail and the upper rudder post. And having seen many other memorials, what makes this one great is that all the space and the shape that's in between those two key pieces of the submarine. So, you know, my time on board Cincinnati was really short compared to all the rest of the crew members here. I was only on board for about 9 months. Started out, I met the ship over in Holyoke, Scotland, rode it back across the Atlantic as part of my turnover time. And then in October 1994, I had my change of command, took command. Conducted a few weeks of weekly operations out of the Bay Capes. And in December 8th, 1994, we held a deactivation ceremony at Naval Station Norfolk on the pier there with a lot of Navy dignitaries and present, older crew members, commissioned COs. Early January 1995, we were towed over to the Norfolk Naval Shipyard and entered dry dock. You know, it was, to be honest with you, the decommissioning process, deactivation, or decommissioning, defueling process was one of the saddest assignments I've had in the Navy. Defueling and disassembling a submarine in the prime of its life was a very bittersweet task. Previous officers and crew members have taken excellent care of Cincinnati. She was an outstanding material condition. But in true fashion, Cincinnati fashion, the crew professionally accomplished the defueling and decommissioning process, and we completed it in 7 months, 5 months ahead of the CNO schedule. One of my saddest days in dry dock was walking to the main seawater bay and looking outboard and seeing a shipyard worker start to drill holes in the main seawater piping. My first impulse was to yell and to jump out there and grab them and stop them. For years that piping had been the boundary between life and death for the ship and for the crew. That was a really tough day for me. During a small dry dock ceremony with probably just a handful of the crew left at that point, at the end of July of 1995, I signed custody of the ship over to the shipyard commander, and that was the last time I saw Cincinnati, until I came here about 3 weeks ago, the end of April, meet up with Joe and to give him some memorabilia that I've been carrying around with me for 30 years, knowing that eventually there would be a memorial that I could donate those pieces of memorial to, and the memorabilia too. And when I saw what we have here today, I was truly blown away. This is the best memorial I've ever seen for a submarine. And it makes me able to accept, the deed that I did, taking her apart, decommissioning, and seeing her put back together for everyone else to see for years to come in the future. So, thank you again for joining us today. I wish the weather had been nicer, but it's a true submarine underway day. Thank you for being here.
There's several points in the life of a ship. There's the keeling, then the construction occurs, and a few years later they have the launching of the submarine. So that ship gets whacked with a champagne bottle, it slides down the building ways into the water. Then there's some additional work that has to be done to finish the ship, send it on sea trials. When it's accepted by the Navy, it gets commissioned. And the commissioning ceremony is much like we've got here today. So we're rolling elements of that together. So we've been working on this project for a while. Back at the beginning, we had USS Albany, a sister submarine, collect water from a depth of 693 feet. That's not too classified. So we've got 6 containers of 693 water. And I've got 6, where are my water boys? Water boys take station as if we don't need to. We are going to rechristen the submarine with water from the Atlantic Ocean from a depth of 693 feet, where USS Cincinnati once prowled, and they're going to once again return USS Cincinnati to the sea. Gentlemen? Once again, a creature of the deep. So the other part of the ceremony, as I mentioned, was the launching. The original sponsor of USS Cincinnati was Nancy Keating, married to Bill Keating, here in Cincinnati. He was published in the Enquirer. He was congressman. One of the maids of honor that day was Nancy's daughter, Susie Keating Lane. Susie. So she is here today with the she's here to tell you a little about the original launching of the ship that her mother did in 1977.
Good morning. As Joe said, I'm Susie Lang. My mother, Nancy Keating, christened the USS Cincinnati in 1977. My parents, Nancy and Bill, passed away a few years ago, but I assure you they are here in spirit, although they could have helped with the rain thing. Mom and Dad loved Cincinnati. My dad served in the Navy during World War II. They were so grateful to the brave men and women that serve our country. They want to see peace for our country. Can you imagine the excitement when President Ford asked Mom to christen the newest nuclear submarine in the fleet, the USS Cincinnati? Anticipating the big event, Mom practiced for weeks. She asked us kids to bring home glass bottles, and she would smash each one into the pillars in the garage. She had a lot of fun practicing, but that's not the best part of the story. When Mom christened the submarine, she forgot to let go of the bottle. And Mom almost went out to sea with the USS Cincinnati. And we still have the bottle. God bless Joe Japp and his devoted team for all their hard work to make this dream a reality. And Joe, after 50 years, we're entrusting the bottle to you.
Another artifact we have from the actual commissioning is the commissioning pennant. And we have Neil Brennan, Neil, where are you? He was a quartermaster on watch at the commissioning ceremony. And when the ship was commissioned, he had the honor of breaking the commissioning pennant from somewhere on the submarine. Wait, I know you're eager, but he's donating the original commissioning pennant to the memorial, so we will have that to be able to frame and have. So we have the original bottle from the launching. We have the original commissioning pennant. So Susie and I now are going to put some champagne on board our submarine, and as soon as we finish that, we're going to take care of the commissioning pennant and some more standby. Susie gets to say some famous words.
New crew. New crew. Man our ship and bring her to life.
Well, what an event, huh? Thank you all so much for joining us today. It's indeed a great day for the United States Navy and our greater Cincinnati submarine veteran community. You know, the USS Cincinnati 693 has transformed from its service to a peace pavilion, and we want to make sure that its legacy is endowed into the future. And we need your help to do that. There's a QR code on the very last page of your program. Please give what you can so we can preserve this ship's legacy and continue to educate future generations about the importance of the submarine service to our country's military. As we draw our ceremony to a close, I would like to invite retired Navy Captain Steve Drayhall to join me on stage once again.
Ready? PTZ, PTZ. Jake, just come on.
Bow heads. And now, let us go forward and do his work and bring the blessings of the USS Cincinnati Memorial Peace Pavilion to all. Amen.
Ready? PTZ. PTZ. Jake, can you wipe your hands?
One last comment before we wrap up. You may be aware that Anchors Away is the only military song that includes beer in the lyrics. Drink to the song. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here, and God bless everyone. Thank you.